Yo, what's up, guys? Today I'm in Saber Unbounded, or Unbound, and so I've seen a lot of new players come out, and I want to do a little quick tutorial video on how to play the game and what to do. Since I don't even think there really is a tutorial, I couldn't find one, so I just learned myself. But let's get to it. So, first thing, you'll guys see when you spawn in is you'll be in this little like menu area. There's gonna be like crates, global kills, clan kills, yada yada yada, your stats, your personal stats, and all that stuff. First thing I recommend you guys looking at is the forms. You're gonna start out with single, and then you're also Shicho, and you're gonna just keep going down and down. Second of all, if you go to this little folder next to the forms moves, you can see all your keybinds and like what they do and stuff, how to play the game essentially. And then after that, if you want to change your keybinds, you can go up to the top right corner controls. You can literally bind it to whatever you want, and you can also reset them. And there's also a settings with all the stuff if you need to turn any of this down, if it's too loud or your game's not running smooth, so you need to turn all this, then go ahead. Third thing that I think you should take notice of is the quests. This gives credits, which is like the currency inside this game. You can get credits from killing, quests, selling stuff, and that's essentially it. Okay, let's head over to the crates, because this is like a pretty important part of the game. When you open crates, you'll see all this stuff, okay? So, depending on what type of saber you use is the type of crate you'll buy. For example, since I use a single saber, I would only buy this because I can't buy this and then equip it to a single saber. So, essentially, inside of this game, there's many different sabers, and each saber has a different move, I guess. Going more in depth in the saber section, so there's all these different sabers with different moves, different skins, different forms. Okay, I already showed you the forms, but there's colors. Okay, you buy colors by um, earning credit. These crystals matter, or kyber crystals matter, because they essentially decide what side you're on, and they help you gain faction kills for a certain side. So like, for example, if I would kill people with a blue crystal, I would get more progress towards the Jedi faction. If I get kills with the orange, more towards the Sith faction. And it's pretty much the same for all these. They do actually affect your gameplay and your progression towards either or factions. Okay, going more in depth into factions. Over here, there's the Sith faction. Come over here, here's the Jedi faction one, the same thing. Some of the more important parts of this game include powers, which I'll show you now. They help in combat and healing and all that stuff. So let me show you where they're located. If you go to menu and then powers, you'll go there. They cost a decent amount. There's a lot of powers in the game currently. You can come in here and look at all of these and what they do. You get 2 slots initially. If you get 12,000 credits, you can unlock the 3rd slot, or you could just pay 200 Robux. Okay, now let's go into the game, and I'll show you guys some mechanics and how the game works. Now that we're in the game, you can see a list of attacks on the right side of your screen. Each attack has a variation, an air variation, a blocking variation, and so forth. So I'm going to be going over every skill and their variation. By the way, this is for the single saber. Each lightsaber has a different attack and R move and Q move. So just keep that in mind. So first thing I'm going to start with is the throw saber, or the R attack. So when we equip it, if I press R, it just throws the lightsaber there and back. Now this does damage, but it does leave you completely open. So you gotta be careful about your spacing, and you have to be knowledgeable on when to use it. Now, if I hold block, you can see that the throw saber button, or the R button, changes to a front stab. So if I hold block, it changes to a front stab, and a front stab looks like this. Now there is one more variation. There is a block and an in-air variation. So when I jump, you should see a Chev spin. Now when I use it, it goes like that. Not really a useful move for doing damage, but it is very useful for movement and getting behind your opponent. Moving on to your Q moves. The base move with no blocking or no air movement is called a slap. It does this. Simply just slaps your opponent to the ground while dealing minimal damage. Now when your opponent is blocking, it looks a little something like this. It's more of a slide back instead of just a complete ragdoll. The blocking variation of your Q move on the base Saber is called the Anakin spin from episode 3. It looks something like this. It's a high damage move, but if people are blocking, it is pretty difficult to hit. So I would be careful. Okay, now the third variation of the Q move is called a kick. It is exactly like the slap, and it's exactly blockable like the slap, except it's just a kick. Like that. So, now that we're done with the Q spec, the next spec is a G, which is a heavy attack. It just toggles between your heavy and your non-heavy. So, notice my vulnerability bar when I swing with a non-heavy attack. It only goes down 3%. Now when I toggle heavy, it goes down 5%. A heavy attack takes longer to wind up, and there's a slight cooldown, so you can't completely spam it. See, I'm continuously clicking, and it's like a 2-second cooldown, but it does have the very possible outcome of one-shotting. Now, the life form takes short amount of time to use and less energy, like so. See, I can continuously attack, but the more I use it, the more vulnerability I lose. Which brings me on to my next point. The vulnerability bar, which I'll just refer to it as the bar for now, because I don't want to say vulnerability every time. Now, your bar goes down every time you swing, and it doesn't make contact. If I swing and it makes contact, it stays. Okay? If I keep swinging continuously like this, my bar will eventually reach a point lower than 30%. Now, the problem is, once you're below 30%, you're more susceptible to getting limbs chopped off or even getting one-shotted by a light or heavy attack. So I would be very careful on managing your bar while you're fighting. A couple of ways you can manage your bar are just not blocking at all. For example, when I'm like this and I'm not blocking or attacking, my bar continuously goes up by 2%. When I'm blocking, my bar stays still, but it doesn't do anything. When I parry, you will lose 7% every time. This changes depending on the type of lightsaber you're using, so make sure to check your lightsaber stats to know how much bar you lose every swing or every parry. One of the best ways to win a fight is by getting your opponent's bar low and keeping yours high. Some of the best ways I like to bait my opponent is by, when they're blocking, I like to run into distance of them where they think I'm going to attack, but they can't necessarily attack me yet. That will bait them to use a parry and lose energy every time. It is worth to take note that when an opponent is blocking and you hit them and they don't parry correctly, they will lose energy and you will keep your energy. So it is crucial in a fight to maintain your bar while draining your opponent's bar. In the bottom right corner, right here, there's a timer that shows you when your round ends and when the next map will be selected. And to the left of that, there's your 2 or 3 force abilities depending if you bought the third slot. They both have keybinds that show you when to use them. So if I were to use F, he would be frozen for about a second and I could do damage to him. If I were to use C, he'd bring close. In the bottom left of your screen, there's cooldowns that show you when your abilities can be used again. If a player was attacking and you manage to parry their attack, you gain a pretty decent amount of bar back and they lose some bar. So it is crucial in a fight to know when to parry, but be careful not to be baited into parrying because every parry is 7% gone. Now I'm going to go into some tips and tricks that I think every player should know, new or pro. The first one is called a wiggle spin, is what I like to call it. It is when your character goes from shift lock like this, and then they throw their saber and go like this and spin at the same time. This causes your saber to be thrown into a circular motion. The wiggle spin is also effective because it's very hard to parry, so it also gives your opponents pretty much an impossible chance in order to gain their bar back from you throwing your saber. Another tip is to always be moving with your dashes and always be using your kick or your slap, or combine the two into a kick and a dash. Now, onto the maps. There's multiple maps inside of Saber Unbound, and every map has an event. This event will say a meteor has spawned. When the meteor has spawned, there will be a glowing kyber crystal of any color, it's completely randomized, that will spawn around the map. It is usually first come, first serve, but if you're in a private server, you can easily get one. A meteor, once collected, helps you get new sound fonts for any color lightsaber, depending on what color the kyber crystal is. So if you get a yellow kyber crystal, then you will unlock a sound font for the yellow color variant of a lightsaber. One of the last tips I recommend doing is joining the Saber Unbound Discord. There you can find clans to play with and codes. I personally am a part of a clan, and I'll leave that link down below. But this is where the video ends. I hope you guys have a great day. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe. See you guys next time. Peace.